On June 4th, 2017, a 42-year-old treasure hunter kissed his girlfriend goodbye at the West Fork Beaver Creek Trailhead near West Yellowstone at 9:30 a.m. as he set off for another attempt to locate the Forrest Fenn Treasure. This was the last time that he was seen alive. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Elise, and I'm your host. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you all had a happy and safe 4th of July if you celebrated, and I hope that you're having a really good July so far. I know here in Utah, we have a lot of rain predicted, so that makes me happy, but also a little concerned. Flash flooding is always a concern, but I am having a great summer, doing a lot of hiking, and spending time outside, and it's been really, really nice. June was an especially hard month for me. It was just really a lot of personal things, family things. I had a death in the family. So I'm just happy to be in a new month so I can start anew and really keep enjoying my summer. Now, I want to say I work in the schools, as some of you know, and we get summers off, but really it's needed because if you work in education, you know it's it's like we need these 2 months to reset our nervous systems before we go back in August. So I hope that if you work in education, you're having a restful and relaxful and healing summer. So today we are going to be talking about, I would say, a pretty well-known case. Um, in terms of the treasure, I mean, I have heard about the treasure, I wanna say back in 2018 or 19, when I watched, I think maybe it was 2020, I'm not sure, but I watched a TV show called Longmire, and they used this treasure as one of their storylines, changed the names and, but, pretty much the same thing. So, very interesting story we're gonna talk about today about a treasure hunter who perished while he was looking for Forrest Fenn's treasure. So, we are going to be talking about Yellowstone National Park, and I'm going to start with some negative reviews. So, our first review is we saw a bison in several places and geysers, but we had zero cell phone reception with Google Pixel, and also our Tesla had no coverage for GPS navigation except for recent items. At visitor centers, there was only Wi Fi for staff, except for one place in the park. Um, I don't know. It's just funny, people go to national parks and expect, like, Wi-Fi and GPS and cell phone service. Yellowstone is huge, and if you're gonna go, my one advice to you is to fill up with gas before you go, because you're gonna be driving, 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 driving all around because it's giant. Someone else's review said, um so it was a bit tough to find friends in other cars. Oh, sorry, this is along with the same review. A bit like back in the previous century for communication and coordination. Positive that we received a map at the gate, useful without car GPS and cell phone coverage. West entrance has mobile coverage. Speed limits are at most 45 miles an hour, so you get to get far on an empty tank or low battery. I don't know. They don't know what they're talking about. I think they were confused, but like I said, fill up your car for sure. The next review says, "By far the absolute worst national park I've ever visited. It was miserable. Hours and hours of waiting in traffic behind tour buses with hundreds of foreigners on each one. This place has been ruined. Not worth your time for a visit. Horrible experience. And I get like sometimes I get annoyed when I'm out and there's a lot of tourists, but like I just think that everyone needs to realize everybody wants to see these places. Everyone wants to enjoy their experience. It doesn't matter where they're from or what language they speak or what their skin looks like. The outdoors are for everybody. And I think having some patience and realizing that all of these other people, including you, want to experience these magical places is like the first step to having a kinder heart for sure. And I admit when I was younger and I would go to these places, I mean, I would get up so early to avoid people, and I had these really negative views of others that were visiting. And I'm like, that's not really fair. And it's not very nice either. So when you're recreating outside, just remember that you might be more experienced than some other people, but everybody's just trying to enjoy the outdoors just like you are. The last review says, I'd give this place 0 stars if that was an option. No smoke shops, no coffee, no internet. Absolutely outrageous. That one, I don't know. I can never tell if these people are being serious, but I think they are. So, those were updated negative reviews. We have gone to Yosemite before on Morbid Outdoors, and in fact, my husband's going on a Yosemite trip next month for a family reunion, which he is super excited about. I'm not able to go because I have to work, but I hope that his family has a great time. And I think the last time I went to Yellowstone was 3 years ago. It was in 23? Yeah, 3 years ago. It's beautiful up there. Oh, and for any of you that are following along with my hiking trekking poles experience, I bought some because REI, I know. They were having a sale, and so I got a pair for like 70 bucks, and I climbed Sunset Peak here in Utah outside of Salt Lake City, Alta area, and, oh, I'm never going back to not hiking without poles. I did this hike and it was pretty strenuous-ish. I mean, like, I started early, but I took my time. I went with a friend, and the hiking poles were a game changer, especially on descent. So, thank you to all of you that encouraged me to hike with poles. My knees were felt much better, and it was a really great experience. They still feel a little awkward because I've never used them before, except for that one hike, but game changer. So, if you're on the fence like I was about hiking poles, you should get some because they are awesome. Okay, so let's talk about, I don't know why I said Yosemite earlier. Sorry, guys. I'm talking about Yellowstone. I don't know. Did I say Yosemite? I have no idea. And you know what? I'm not gonna go back and edit it out because I'm, like, hitting an afternoon slump of, like, my brain is not working, and I'm tired. I went on a hike today, in the Albion Basin, and it was beautiful, it was hot, and now I feel like I'm gonna go to sleep super soon. So, sorry if I said Yellow or Yosemite earlier, I meant Yellowstone if that's what I said. So, let's talk about Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a national park in the United States located in the northwest corner of the state of Wyoming, with small portions of it extending into Montana and Idaho. It was established, and it's like the first national park, and it was signed into law by President Ulysses S. Grant on March 1st, 1872. Now, Yellowstone was technically the first park in the US, the national park in the US, but um I'm from Hot Springs National Park, and if you're unfamiliar, there's this rival with Yellowstone and Hot Springs because Hot Springs National Park was federally protected before Yellowstone was. So we have this like, haha, we are Hot Springs is actually the first national park because it was federally protected even before Yellowstone. So, while I don't know, you can look at it both ways, but Yellowstone was also considered to be the first national park in the world, even though Hot Springs National Park was federally protected before Yellowstone. So, anyways, it's just funny thing. If you ever visit both parks and ask that question, the rangers will have a funny quip usually to say about it. So, Let's talk about what Yellowstone is known for. It's, of course, known for its wildlife like bison and bears and wolves, and its many geothermal features, and especially the Old Faithful geyser, which is probably the most popular geothermal feature that everybody goes to see. Have I seen Old Faithful? Yes, when I was like 6 years old. I didn't go back because I didn't go back last time I went to Yellowstone because I'm like, it's cool, but it's not that cool. I'd rather be seeing other sites. But if you go, definitely stop in to see Old Faithful. So Yellowstone spans an area of 3,468.4 square miles or 8,983 square kilometers. And a lot of this encompasses lakes and ponds, canyons, rivers, and mountain ranges. Yellowstone Lake is one of the largest high elevation lakes in North America and covers part of the Yellowstone caldera, which is the largest supervolcano on the continent. And when Yellowstone decides to blow up, I will die because I live in Utah. So I'm only like 6 hours away from Yellowstone. It is a super volcano. And I know that, like, everybody, I don't know, not everybody, but I've seen some people online that are convinced that Yellowstone's going to blow up soon, and that'll be like the end of the world. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. So it is considered to be a dormant volcano, and it has erupted with tremendous force twice in the last 2 million years. So I think we might be safe, but who knows? Well over half of the world's geysers and hydrothermal features are in Yellowstone, fueled by this ongoing volcanism. There are lava flows that you can see, and it's a really, really interesting place. And in 1978, Yellowstone was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, within Yellowstone National Park, there are hundreds of species of mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles, and amphibians, including several that are either endangered or threatened. The vast forests and grasslands also include unique species of plants. Yellowstone National Park is the largest and most famous megafauna location in the contiguous United States. The park is inhabited by grizzly bears, cougars, wolves, and free ranging herds of bison and elk. Now, this is a really fun fact. The Yellowstone Park bison herd is the oldest and largest public bison herd in the United States. There are a lot of different activities that you can do, like hiking, camping, boating, fishing, and sightseeing. And there are paved roads that provide pretty good access to a lot of these places. In the winter, you can also do guided tours that either use snow coaches or snowmobiles to do a tour. And I know a lot of people do that. And it would be a really cool way to visit Yellowstone that's a little bit atypical from all the crowds in the summer and fall. Yellowstone is over 2.28 million acres, and it is, like I said, large, and it's larger than either the states of Rhode Island or Delaware. And I find it so funny that that's like a measuring tool for a lot of places in the United States, especially national parks. Rivers and lakes cover 5% of the land area, with the largest water body of water being Yellowstone Lake, and it's over 87,000 acres. Yellowstone Lake is up to 400 feet deep and has 110 miles of shoreline. It sits at 7,733 feet above sea level or 2,357 meters above sea level. And I've driven by it. It's beautiful. Now, Yellowstone National Park has one of the world's largest petrified forests, which are trees which were long ago buried in ash and soil and were gradually replaced by mineral materials. So if you've ever seen petrified wood, it looks like wood, but it's rock and it's really cool. And a really good example of this would be like Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. Yellowstone contains 290 waterfalls of at least 15 feet or 4.6 meters, the highest being the lower falls of the Yellowstone River at 308 feet or 94 meters tall. It ranks, like Yellowstone in general, ranks among the most popular national parks in the United States. Since the mid 60s, at least 2 million tourists have visited the park almost every single year. Average annual visitation increased to 3.5 million during the 10 years from 2007 to 2016, with a record of over 4.2 million recreational visitors in 2016. This number was surpassed in 2023 with 4.5 million people visiting the park. July is definitely the busiest month. So if you want to go to Yellowstone, I suggest going in September. I think it's way better. It's less crowded. I've been in September and I've been in the summer, and I much prefer September. It's beautiful. I think the wildlife is more active at that time, which means you have to be careful because of grizzlies, but it's really, really pretty in September. Now let's talk about deaths in Yellowstone. Since it's a really popular park, you think that there would be a ton of deaths, but really it's not as many as you might think. From 2007 to 2023, a total of 74 deaths were recorded within the park. Driving is the leading cause of fatalities, which is kind of crazy, accounting for over 45%, often occurring on roads and highways that traverse Yellowstone's challenging terrain. Water related activities, including fishing, swimming, and boating on Yellowstone Lake and the park's rivers and streams, contribute to 16% of fatalities. Hiking, climbing, and walking make up 38%, with incidents frequently occurring on the trails of Yellowstone National Park or near Yellowstone's geothermal areas. So, I want to start today with talking about what treasure we are talking about. So, you might or might not have heard of the Forrest Fenn Treasure. Now, Forrest Fenn was a millionaire and retired Santa Fe, New Mexico art dealer. He has a really badass name, Forrest Fenn. It's very alliterative, it's very naturey, and he loved the outdoors. And he didn't bury it, he placed a treasure chest somewhere in the American Southwest, and he wrote a poem to give clues as to where it was. Now, the chest was filled with antique coins and relics, a jar of Alaskan gold dust, and an ancient Chinese jade carving by Fenn, and it was somewhere in the wilderness. So, Fenn hid the treasure after a 1988 terminal cancer diagnosis, which later went into remission. So he was given this cancer diagnosis and he decided to do this treasure like project slash hunt. And because he was going to die of cancer and he wanted to do this fun thing before he died, fun thing for someone else. And he wrote and self-published a book in 2010 called The Thrill of the Hunt, which contained a short poem describing the treasure's location in the Rocky Mountains between the Canadian border and Santa Fe, above 5,000 feet of elevation. Forrest Fenn spent several summers fly fishing in Yellowstone and lived in West Yellowstone in Montana for a while. The poem has phrases that seem to match places in Yellowstone, including Warm Waters Halt, Canyon Down, and Home of Brown Bears. So I'm going to read this to you, and I'll let you listen. As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyon down, not far, but too far to walk. Put it in below the home of Brown, and Brown is capitalized. From there it's no place for the meek, the end is drawing ever nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down, your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marble gaze, just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answers I already know. I've done it tired and now I'm weak. So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you the title to the gold. So he buried it in 1988, and sorry, not buried. I keep saying buried. It was never buried. He hid the treasure in 1988, and in 2010 he was like, nobody's finding it, so I'm going to write a poem. So he wrote a poem, and still nobody was finding it, right? And in 2013, Forrest Fenn gave the Today Show 4 more clues. The treasure is hidden higher than 5,000 feet above sea level. It's not associated with any structure, nor in a graveyard, and not hidden in Idaho or Utah. On July 12th, 2015, he gave a new clue on the TV show Sunday Morning, And he said, "The treasure is not hidden in a mine. A lot of these old mines are dangerous. I mean, they have snakes in them, they have black widow spiders." So you have to remember, Fenn was pretty old when he hid the treasure, and he didn't hide it in a super difficult place. That's what he said, because he was like, "You have to keep in mind, I was old, I was weak, I had cancer, and so I didn't hide this super well. It wasn't buried or anything like that." And a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, they quit their jobs, hiked on the weekends, they're out here trying to find his treasure because it was supposedly worth over $1,000,000. And for, I would say, like 98% of Americans, that is a lot of money. That's life-changing money. So a lot of people started to try and find this treasure. And one of those people was 42-year-old Mike Peterson. And on June 4th, 2017, Mike was in Yellowstone and he was seeking the treasure. Now, he kissed his girlfriend, Bonnie Senger, goodbye at the West Fork Beaver Creek Trailhead, which is right outside of West Yellowstone. It was 9:30 in the morning and he was setting off to do his hike to attempt to locate the Forrest Fenn treasure. Now, this was not his first time looking for the treasure. He was a father of 4, and his kids were all 17 to 23 years old. And Mike was a frequent hiker in the Montana Rockies and Yellowstone National Park. And so this wasn't like a crazy big adventure for him. He knew the area, knew it well, had hiked there before, and he'd actually hunted treasure, on several occasions in this area. So, a little bit about Mike. Mike loved music and lived for sports. He wasn't afraid to belt out a song in public or sing along to the radio. He was very lively individual. He loved football, basketball, and hockey, and he was a strong swimmer, and he also was very good at baseball. So he was athletic and strong. He was just like kind of like a jack of all trades in the sports world. He was competitive, he was good at it, and he liked to participate in any competitive sports. And his nickname was Left because he could shoot a ball or hit a ball on both sides just as well. He was ambidextrous. So really cool skill to have. Mike also loved animals and they loved him, especially his special pit bull Kilo. Like I said, he was a jack of all trades. He made everything look easy. He was a welder by trade, and he also built custom fences. And he loved to hunt, fish, and enjoy nature. So he was going off on this trail. He thought he solved the poem to find this treasure. And this, like I said, this was not the first time that Mike was doing this. He was prepared, he was ready. Now, this hike that he was planning to do, All Trails says it's 12.3 miles long, has just over 2,300 feet of elevation gain, and it typically takes people 6 to 7 hours to complete. So Mike was heading out at around 9:30, and his girlfriend, Bonnie, planned to pick Mike up at the trailhead at around 6 p.m. So he was planning to be out there almost all day. Now, personally, I would have started earlier than 9:30 a.m. That's kind of late to start a long hike like that, especially if you're searching for treasure. Now, Bonnie and Mike were planning to get dinner and make a fire before they went to bed. But when Bonnie got to the trailhead, there was no sign of Mike. And around 8 p.m., she waited for a couple of hours. Maybe he's just running a little late. She quickly drove to find cell service to call the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office because she knew that something was wrong. And at 10 p.m. that day, a search was started with a search and rescue team, sniffer dogs, and helicopters. So immediately they start searching for him. And the initial search activity included personnel from the West Yellowstone Division of the Gallatin County Search and Rescue, the Hedgebin Basin Rural Fire Department. There was a helicopter, and just a lot of people immediately hit the ground. The following Monday, the ground search efforts comprised of 25 individuals from the Gallatin County Search and Rescue crews from West Yellowstone, Big Sky, the Gallatin Valley, the National Forest Service personnel from Hebgen Basin Rural Fire District, and 3 canine dog search teams. The next day, continued search efforts involved the same personnel from earlier, with additional air resources from Central Helicopter and ground teams from Madison County Search and Rescue, Ruby Valley Search and Rescue, and the Department of Livestock. In total, 40 ground searchers looked for Mike during the search. And during the search, they actually found something. They found Mike's vest and bear spray canister about a half a mile away from the river. Crucially, they also found his backpack with his gun, but they couldn't locate Mike. So, this is kind of unlike other cases we've discussed on here where I feel like when someone goes missing, there's, you don't find anything, but they found Mike's gear. And then unfortunately, Mike was found drowned in Beaver Creek on June 7th, so 3 days after 2017 at 11:30 a.m. by a search team including a canine, and after, like I said, 3 days of efforts. It took them 3 days to find him. His body was located a quarter mile south of the confluence of the Bear and West Fork Creeks. So, Gallatin County Sheriff's Captain Jason Jarrett, he said that Mike likely died from attempting to cross the creek on his way back to the trailhead in the afternoon. And due to this spring snowmelt, the creek was much higher than it was when Mike crossed it in the morning. So, Mike maybe got over there easily, and then coming back, it was a little bit more dangerous. The Gallatin County Rescue Team has responded to 3 drowning deaths incidents that spring. So, this wasn't, like, totally out of the blue. This river was could be kind of dangerous. So something that I didn't mention before is that one of the searchers that was looking for Mike was his brother, Mac. And Mac was a 27-year-old cook and server at the Rolling Hills in Mandan, and he actually drove to southern Montana to join the search when he learned that his brother was missing. Now, unfortunately, Mac, I mean, he has a really sad story. So he actually was concerned about Mike going by himself. And Max spoke with Mike 3 days before, so on June 1st, and Mike knew that Mac was worried about his safety while hiking alone. So Mike lied to his brother and he said that he was going to a wedding in Denver while treasure hunting in the wilderness. And so Max said, quote, he wasn't necessarily the most honest with people, but it was because he was always trying to make everybody happy. So that's really, really sad that Mike knew that his brother was concerned and lied about it. So imagine Mac's surprise when he gets word, "Hey, your brother Mike is missing in Yellowstone," when Mac thought he was supposed to be in Denver at a wedding and not in Yellowstone doing this trail and crossing rivers. Now, before Mike's death, he wanted to complete his faith journey with the Catholic Church, so he was attending classes at St. Anne Church and was confirmed into the church. As his family said in his obituary, quote, "The twinkle in his eye, the sound of his laugh, his awesome hugs, we will forever miss him. He was our protector, our Saint Michael in the flesh." So it's really, really sad that, Mike perished while searching for this treasure. And I'm not like an expert on river levels, but I'm not sure how accurate that sheriff's captain's theory could be, because if Mike crossed the river in the morning and let's say it was like, let's say 5 hours later, could the river really had gone up that much in 5 hours just from snowmelt, not from flash flood? I don't know. I'm just thinking that is a little bit peculiar. That's a peculiar theory to have, and the reasoning behind it to me is what's interesting. So here's the question. Why did Mike, who was a very experienced outdoorsman, why did he leave his kit behind and head for the dangerous creek? He left his gun, the bear spray, his backpack. Um, it's really odd that you would leave that while you're going to cross a river because you're going to need it on the other side. With bears around, leaving his firearm and spray would have been particularly reckless. Several people have been killed or injured in Yellowstone by grizzly bears, as we all know, and bison. Um, I don't know, it's like, was there more to the story than police reported? Was it a simple drowning? As the Gallatin County Sheriff's Captain Jason Jarrett said, that was like a very quick conclusion. And I think people like that, like the sheriff's captain, it's like Occam's razor. What happened, But I think we should always ask questions about investigations, even if they seem cut and dry. And some of Mike's family have even suggested that there was foul play, that they suspect foul play. So, according to Valerie McLaughlin, who's Mike's daughter, she actually stated to Strange Outdoors in correspondence, and Strange Outdoors is a resource that I used on this case. She said, "quote I'm positive that Bonnie had a hand in my dad's death. There are messages between Bonnie on an old Verizon account that is no longer active, but I'm hoping that there is a way, especially if pressed by the law, that the account can be looked into to retrieve the messages between Bonnie and me that prove she's hiding something, considering she left it out of her report, and though she made one mistake." On the evening of June 4th, 2017, when my dad didn't make their rendezvous, Bonnie had called me and we were texting, keeping contact about the whole thing, and she sent me messages stating that something had happened before she called the park rangers, and it doesn't make sense. None of it. Then a couple of more Mo the later, I don't know, maybe I don't know, this has typos in it. Bonnie tells me, "What? I've never said that, Valerie. That never happened." But I have the text messages from Bonnie's phone number, Verizon, that she still uses today and is on that old Verizon account, and the person whose account I was on is still alive and well today. She just says she hasn't been with Verizon for a couple years now and apparently doesn't know how to go about getting those messages retrieved. So this is continues. This is a long quote. Bonnie told me about 30 minutes after dad didn't show up, she started calling his name. Then she heard gunshots, still calling his name. She said three men walked out of the woods and came her way. Bonnie then told me, "Really nice guys, Val. They said that they had heard gunshots too, but didn't see anyone. They even went back into the woods and called your dad's name for almost 10 minutes, but there was no response. Real respectful, really nice guys. They were hunting bears." That's weird because I don't think hunting is allowed in Yellowstone. Anyways, keep on going. One of them had recently gotten out of surgery. I immediately asked Bonnie what their names were, and she said, "I didn't get their names." I said, "Are you fucking kidding me? Dad is practically missing. You're worried he didn't make it on time." And she knew dad was looking for the Forrest Fenn treasure. That's the only reason dad was out there 4 or 5 other times. He wasn't just hiking because he liked to do so. He was looking for the treasure, and his girlfriend financed the whole thing. Dad even asked me if he should even tell Bonnie about it because we had no money, but Bonnie was rich. Dad said he could go now or later when he could finance his trips. My oldest brother and I told him to tell her. Quote, I talked to my dad's lawyer about it. His name is Justin Vingy out of Bismarck, North Dakota. And he told me, quote, if these three men were hunting bears, there's no way they would tell a complete stranger who's worried about her missing boyfriend about to call the police. Hunting bears in Yellowstone in 2017 would have been illegal. My dad's lawyer also said that she states that they walked out of the woods. What if they had killed a bear? Were they just going to walk it out of the woods alongside them? Just like I said, it's kind of story. When Bonnie called the rangers, she told them that she was his wife and only his girlfriend, and not only his girlfriend, I guess. So I don't know. Mike's daughter seems to think that Bonnie is suspicious and had something to do with his death. And I will say the story, if it's true that Bonnie told Valerie, is very weird. Family members have confirmed that when he died, Mike Peterson was searching for the treasure. Now, initially that wasn't known, but, after the case got out, yes, he was searching for the treasure. So, this is the thing. Did he die just attempting to cross a creek on the way back to the trailhead? I just don't know how I feel about that. How do you guys feel about that? Um I just think that there's more to the story. I don't know who's responsible, but I just think that there are some really weird details in this case. So, some family members, like I said, have cast doubt on the sheriff's office's version of events for this well experienced and well prepared hiker. And the family claims that foul play was more likely involved. And on June 6, 2020, so this is after Mike's death by 3 years, and I imagine that Forrest Fenn was getting updates about all of the people, because Mike was not the only person to die looking for the treasure. So Fenn posted on the Searcher blog and on June 6, 2020, that the treasure had been found. And I remember when this happened, I was like, holy crap, this is crazy because I thought for sure it was going to be in New Mexico, but it was not. It was in Wyoming, I believe. So this is what Fenn said. It was under a canopy of stars in the lush forested vegetation of the Rocky Mountains and had not moved from the spot where I hid it more than 10 years ago. I do not know the person who found it, but the poem in my book led him to the precise spot. I congratulate the thousands of people who participated in the search and hope they will continue to be drawn to the promise of other discoveries. So the search is over. Look for more information and photos in the coming days. Oh, and I think I said earlier in the episode that Forrest Fenn hid his treasure in 1988, but that was not, I don't know why I said that. He hid it in 2010. So it took 10 years for this treasure to be found. Now, Forrest Fenn disclosed in a news article that the finder was a male from the eastern United States who had sent him a photograph of the chest. The identity of the finder, the photograph, and the location of the treasure was not revealed at this time. And on June 16th, 2020, he said that, yeah, like this was legit. We someone found it, and I'm not gonna disclose his identity. He doesn't want to be disclosed, and, he wasn't going to say that where it was found, but it had been hidden in Wyoming. Now, in December 2020, so just 6 months after the Forest Fenn treasure was found, Jack Stoof, a medical student from Michigan, revealed that he had found Fenn's treasure chest and decided to disclose his identity by going public in an interview with Outside magazine. Due to safety reasons, he preferred to stay anonymous, but a lawsuit was expected to reveal his identity. So, apparently, from what I heard, Jack had been searching for the treasure for 2 years. And I mean, I don't think it could go to a more deserving person than a medical student because medical school is expensive. Though the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office had completed the investigation, I think there's always going to be like questions about what happened to Mike in those woods. A theory is maybe he encountered a bear, but I just don't think that this is a plausible theory. I think he would have deployed his bear spray or his gun, and there were no tracks found either. So, despite Valerie thinking that Bonnie had something to do with her dad's death, Bonnie was still upset about Mike's death, and at the time, she sought refuge from her grief in her Catholic faith. Outside on the ground shortly after his death, Bonnie found a white bandana, kind of like on a bench area, and just like the one Mike wore when he left on the hike. Written in Sharpie around the edge, it said Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God is with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So Bonnie says that she took it, she put it in her purse, and her son was like, Mom, you're stealing. And she kinda laughed and, while she was crying, and she said, "I don't care. I think that was for me." Now, I do believe in signs, and I don't believe in coincidences, but I'm wondering if this was Mike's bandana. I have no idea. It might have been. Maybe someone found it on the trail and brought it back to the trailhead. A lot of times you'll see things on, near trailheads, water bottles, hats, whatever, and the etiquette typically is if you find something, you take it back to the trailhead and leave it on a post or something because the owner will likely come looking for it. So I don't know. Was it Mike's bandana? I think Bonnie would have known if it was his, but I just find it interesting that it was like the same color as the one he went missing, and it had a Bible verse on it. I don't know, I think it's interesting. So, I wanna share a quote from Jason Jarrett, who was the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office, and he said, "Bad things happen to good people, and nature doesn't care that 99 times out of 100 it went okay." And that is something that I agree with. Like I always say, nature does not care. So, while Mike perished in search of the treasure, his memory lives on within his family, and I hope one day that his case gets a second look, because I think that there are some things that are a little suspicious. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. You can also join us on Patreon for early and ad-free content. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.